November 2024, workshop number 9. Sila 9. Staying on track with a growth plan for ongoing improvement. I'm excited that we're here today, and I'm excited that we are here because of the support. The program host of the L+EARN #Biz program is hosted by the CISA Foundation. And I'm excited that as the implementation partners, the Entrepreneurial Planning Institute has participated in that as a role of implementing the program. What are we doing today? We're refining your business model for ongoing improvement. So again, we're going back into it, reminding you, reiteration. This is the time that I hope you brought it with you, and as you go along, you are moving things, you are learning. Financial mastery with budgeting, costing, pricing, and record keeping. Again, just remembering what are the important things in your finances. And of course, growing your income with focusing in marketing and sales, thinking about where you were, what did you put in your workbook, and now where we're at now in November, months later, weeks later, you're going back to what you've done and have an opportunity to relook at some of the things. And then lastly, achieve growth with SMART goals and action plans. So again, looking at, because you've done this before in your workbook, you've done it before, now is reflecting again, right? Here's an opportunity to relook at everything and make sure you are staying on track with a growth plan for ongoing improvement. So it's a constant way of making sure you are on track. So on that note, I'm excited to get us started with who's going to get us going?
It's going to be me.
Mr.
Yeah, if you like it or not, it's going to be me.
Yes, over to you, Mr. Training Manager of the L+EARN #Biz 2024 program.
That sounds much too formal a title to carry, but I'll try my best to live up to that. So guys, here we are for a refresher. And the refresher is about reminding us about the key things that we already have covered. So it is going back, it is maybe referring back to the workbook, it is referring back to our previous workshops. And what I'm going to do is start with this question. Well, that's the theme, you know, sort of how we stay on track. Sorry, I went to the wrong direction in my slides. If you can type in the text chat the themes we covered, you gain the most from. So let's start there. Can anyone, everyone, in fact, not anyone, everyone, what are the themes that we've covered in the program that you gain most from? So let's see how awake we are on this Wednesday afternoon. Business model canvas says, Naledi, very quickly, pricing and costing, Bali. What did you gain from most? Just type there in the text chat quickly and we can see. You may have to think a bit. We've had to think too deeply, and then maybe budgeting and pricing and costing. Leonardo is pricing and costing. Yeah, it's coming. The business model canvas. SMART goals, says Levi. A lot of pricing and costing. Marketing, says Nkosi File.
BMC.
And BMC.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things, business model canvas and pricing and costing, says Adorable.
Compliance.
Leading with value proposition, says George. We're going to look at all of these things today. In fact, you'll remember we had 8 workshop themes that we covered, you know, sort of including most of those things that you guys are mentioning here, you know, sort of starting off with us as entrepreneurs and showing up in the world as entrepreneurs and our own financial well-being, leading into us talking about very important things like pricing and costing and understanding the finances of our business, plus how we then connect out to the outside world, how we connect, who are our customers, defining our customers, those things about sales, the sales funnel and things that we've covered recently, you know, sort of. But at the core of it is understanding that there's a model of things fitting together. So this is what we're going to talk about now, is to remind ourselves what is a business model. So you'll remember we did talk about, we don't have to get too much stuck in the definition of things, but it is useful to remind ourselves. In the workbook too, we talk about the business model because it outlines how we create, deliver, and capture value. So there's the first clue to it. We must understand value, the value that we give our customers, to be tuned into that and to understand how that's different from others. And then a business model talks about all the necessary components for you to deliver that, the resources, the processes, the partnerships, so that you can have an efficient and profitable business. Okay, so that's a business model, and the business model canvas is a one-page version of describing a business model. You can do it in other formats too, but it's very useful because it gives us a practical reflection on one page, a summary of everything together. So, and there, of course, advantages to using that, sort of it is quick to refer to. We can share it with other people. What I want to talk about now is how we use it for refining as we go along. So can we see in the text chat, just say yes if you've used the business model canvas to refine your business in the past few months, since we've actually introduced it, or even before that. George says yes. Bongi Kosi says yes. Tando says yes. A lot of yeses. So that is absolutely great. And what I want to focus on now in our discussions, thanks guys. It's great to see that there's so much application of content that we cover here in the workshops. That you guys are using what we are covering here in refining your business, improving your business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run us through the business model canvas just as a reminder. And if you have yours open with you, you can ask yourself 2 questions, sort of in using the business model canvas for each of those 9 elements on the canvas. You'll recall we spoke about these things. Can someone just help to keep our crowd muted, please? Then yeah, the 9 elements in the business model canvas is what I'm going to cover quickly, and I'm suggesting that you ask 2 questions yourself as we go through them one by one. I'm not sure who keeps on unmuting. Guys, please stay muted. Remember the rule: stay muted if you're not speaking. 2 questions. 1, what do I do really well now in that element? And 2, what is it that I don't see yet? What I don't see yet, something that I may be missing. Okay, we have this framework, it's flattening out that 3D image into the 9 elements, and we've got that framework already in the assignment that we've done. So we can go through these one by one, asking those 2 questions. What am I doing really well already? And what am I missing? So ask yourself that as we go through them. So we start with value proposition, and it was great to see some of you talking about that already in the feedback that we got earlier. The main question here is, what is different in what you offer? If you cannot answer that question, you're just going to compete on price with other people that are in the same industry as you. You want to compete on other things, the value that you give your customers. What is your value proposition, we ask? What is your value proposition? So what have you already defined well now in your value proposition? What is it that you perhaps can refine still, and ask yourself questions around that needs that the customer have that you are fulfilling, that uniqueness of your offering? Sort of your superpower relates, remember we spoke about your superpower relates to that unique offering that you can give your customers. What is that you give your customers? What have you already defined well? And perhaps what have you not thought of that you must still work on? So maybe this is not going to change day to day, but you are going to keep working on it. Okay, so that's the first element. We can then move on. Remember, there's the whole thing, and they all fit together. We can see how things are fitting together in terms of the 9 elements of this business model. The next is in the customer segments, and we spoke in the marketing and sales, we spoke about this continuously. In fact, in the assignments, you had to define your customers. Remember, who are your best customers? Remember, we had the target, sort of, and say that if you score in that, if you shoot your arrow into the center of the target, is the smallest area, but it's the most value. Also, that 20% of your customers give you 80% of your income. Who are those people? How can you focus more on them? Define them well, reach out to them. And that is then where we move on to customer relations and the channels that we are using to reach out to them. So you can see these things fit together, sort of the value proposition. Those arrows are linking to the customer segments. The channels of delivery reach to the customer segments. How do you service the customers through the delivery channels? And how do you build your relations through customer relations? So it's the heart of the truck. Okay, so interacting with your customers, how do you communicate with them? Sort of, are you using social media to attract their attention? Do you have a customer relations system that you can send them emails? When they come into your shop, sort of, how do you communicate with them? Or the channels of delivery, sort of, how do you make sure that there's efficiency in the way that you reach them? So remember, the two questions is, what are you already doing well? And what it is that you are maybe missing. So customer relations is about, can you build that strong relationship? Okay, put yourself in the shoes of your ideal customer and ask what it is that they want and how can you build a strong relationship. And then that also leads to talking about the channels, sort of, how can you be exceptional in delivering on your promise? So you've defined your value proposition here on the one side, you've got your customer seconds on another side, and you build the relationships through customer relations, and you deliver something exceptional to them through the channels that you use. Okay, what is it that you're doing well in that at the moment? Ask yourself that. But then also, what is it that you're not seeing? Something that you still need to improve. This is key. This is most important. So those of you that have used the, say, yes, 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 adorable, Timoleng, Lunga, have you been able to use this framework to get more customers? Who in the room got more customers in the past few months, 2 months or so that we've been using this? Just by being more focused, more aware. Adorable says, yes, she got more customers. One or two or many? How many, percentage-wise, what growth in customers can we report on here? Okay, customer follow-up is something to improve for me. Okay, so this is the thing, eh? Sort of, so we're never perfect. We're always improving. Even if Adorable says, yes, I got more customers, I'm sure Adorable, there's something that you can still improve. About a 10% increase, says Levi. That's great, sort of 10% now, 10% in 2 months. Adorable's got 20% growth. Wow, that is great. 15%, Christine. Great stuff, guys. This is how we build our businesses and make a difference, by growing our sales, increasing our connection with our customers. Okay, so for each of us is different. So even if we don't have that improvement yet, by refining our business model, we can make sure that we do something. And if it doesn't work, it means we have to make some changes. Okay, so things fit together. There are 9 elements. We've covered 4. Revenue streams are what the result is of that customer engagement. You've got your value proposition, you deliver it to your customers, and you get money back. Né? How can you do that? Some of us spoke about subscription models, people actually paying us every month for something. Some of us are doing hard sales, sort of some product, sort of we make a product, people give us a 50% deposit and we deliver the product. Some of us, sort of are in services, sort of we design websites and so on. So we give a proposal. It all leads to revenue. And how can we then make it easy for people to pay us too? Can we move into electronic payment options, not only taking cash, sort of, for instance, but we want the repeat business if we can do that, sort of, so that our profit margins can improve. That's the revenue streams. Also diversifying revenue streams. What are you doing well already? What kind of income are you creating well? But can you have some other revenue streams too that are supporting that, so that you're not so exposed to just one area of income? Okay, so that's the one side, is the right-hand side of the business model canvas, the value proposition, the customers, and then the revenue coming from that. The other side, the left side, is much more to do with the delivery side of things. And we can start off by talking about the activities that we need to organize. So this is operational. So we, in many cases, technical, sort of know what you have to do yourself and what to outsource, sort of what do you need to do yourself as the entrepreneur, what you're great at. As the leader in the business is not necessarily all the things that must happen in the business. Can you get someone else that's good at the things that you suck at? Rather build a team of people than trying to do yourself everything, especially those things that oh, those are challenging for me. I'm not the best at this. Let me get someone that's better than me in doing this. And then to outsource, we're very fortunate nowadays. We've got access to so many services out there, scalable, services and so on the internet too. So that's the key activities. So know what we have to do and what we need to outsource. And then the resources too, sort of. So if we can outsource more, we need less resources. We don't need that many equipment and so on, because we outsource to someone that's already got that equipment. But for some things we need the resources in the business. And of course, we also talk about people sometimes as resources, the team. We must build the team, the skills in the team. Okay, what do you need yourself in the business? What do you need to have access to outside the business? And the combination of those two is the capacity of your business to deliver. Okay, so you get that. We don't have to do everything ourselves. Sometimes we can buy a component of our business from somewhere else, and we can define this in our business model. So those are the key resources. And of course, they fit together. Their partnerships then come into play. Key resources and key activities link into partnerships. Partnerships is about those things that are influential on where you're going. So like the industry associations or the entrepreneur networks or strategic partnerships that you can form. So it's not necessarily the thing in your business, it's kind of the partnerships or the government frameworks that they create for you to relate to the policies and so on that you need to be aware of and take account of in your business model. Okay. So that went quite quickly because we now had cost structure and, sort of Patricia's going to talk a bit more about that and remind us about those workshops that we did there. But yes, all the costs are here on the one side and the revenue on the other side. The costs are related to the activities and the stuff we need to do and the revenue on the other side. And if we could then compare the two, that's where the break-even calculation and so on comes into play. We need to know in our business model how much sales we need to do. That's how the things all fit together. The cost structure determines how much sales you need to make here on the right top, although the cost structure sits here at the bottom. Do the hard work to understand your costs. And I saw in the reports from the coaches, a lot of us in the room here have done lots of hard work, and I must congratulate you guys. Most of us here have taken this opportunity to have a deep look at how you use financial management in your business and to put those controls in. And I must really say I'm very, very impressed by the results that that we've seen in the reports coming from the coaches. So that's the 9 elements of the business model canvas. We flatten it out so that it's easy for us to describe and we can use it for ongoing improvement. So I'm not sure how we're doing for time, Tobeka, but let's talk a bit about how we can use this one-page plan for ongoing improvement.
Yeah.
Questions and comments and so on are welcome.
Great. Perfect, Christoph. It's actually quite funny. While you were going on, I was remembering while we were waiting for comments, the business model canvas is you work on it all the time. And I've tried something and I hope this works. Sorry, Christoph, I'm throwing you off our plan.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Okay, so I've got this behind me, right? So typically that's as close as you will all get right now.
We see. We don't see the detail, but we see the idea.
Yeah, so if you're able to have or draw your business model canvas, right? Close. And that way, just like on figure 6 on page 40, you constantly can change your canvas. But if you write on it, then it becomes untidy. However, if you have like secondhand, you know how you have recycling paper, just some little tips and tricks. So I have recycling paper, and then what I do is now, if I have an idea, I'll write it and I'll stick it. So because I'm not in my office, I'm in my lounge at the moment. So if you have an idea, you write what you want to write and you put it under key activities, right? For example. Or if you have a value proposition for a particular a customer segment, then you'll have your value proposition and you write it. This gives you an opportunity to move it if you don't need it anymore. And you keep your canvas in place all the time. So that's the nice thing. So think of your figure 6 on page 40, but of course you don't have all this nice expensive paper. It's fine. Sebenzisa your secondhand paper. Cut it up. What you will buy, which is worthwhile, is a press stick. You know that press stick from school. And then you constantly write on it and then you change it. Then you're like, oh, this is my cost structure here. This is my revenue model. And then you move it around. So anyway, I just thought that would be just a nice thing to constantly have with you all the time. And that way, yeah. So that way you'll always be able to move it around and things. So I used to have this a lot in my office. And even color coded. So particular customers are written in red pen. Anyway, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, so that's ideal because it gives you the ability to keep refining. So especially if you start off defining your business model, you might find that you make fairly big changes. Sort of remember there's also this thing about pivoting, even when you realize this thing is not working at all and you make a big change. And there are some of us that have gone through that in the time that we've been together. So let's hear from, we've had lots of yeses. I'm using the business model canvas. How are you using it? And then if there are any challenges, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes for us to discuss those challenges that we're experiencing too. Anyone can raise your hand or unmute to speak. Perhaps we can start off by asking someone that said yes in the start, I'm using the business model canvas. How are you using it? So Rebecca shared with us how she's using it. Who would like to share how you're using the business model canvas to keep improving your business? Remember, we learn from sharing with each other. We also learn. Guess what? They say if you have to be a teacher, you actually need to know your story much better. Ne? Sort of so by explaining it to someone else, it actually helps you to be much clearer yourself. I find that definitely myself. If I have to explain it to other people, that it helps me to no, I can't just fuzz around things. I need to explain it clearly. So it's also opportunity for you to maybe get some clarity. So who would like to share with us how you are? No, you don't have to talk about the detail of what you have on your business model canvas, but how are you using it? George.
Good day again, everyone. On my side, the business model canvas, even when starting the program, I had too many activities and too many partnerships that some of them are not aligned to my goals. So by regularly visiting the business model canvas, I could see that some other partnerships or resources I don't really need at this stage as I'm focusing on a 2-year plan. So yeah, I kind of like used it in that way, and also to refine my revenue streams and to cut all the other revenue streams that I think they're giving me money, but actually not going along with the goal.
That's so important, George. Well, at one page you don't have so much space, so you can't write too many things. So it already forces you to focus. But you then ask yourself, what are the things that are wastage here? What don't actually, because these elements are all fitting together, sort of which of my costs are not contributing towards income? Can I reduce them or remove them? Which of my revenue streams are stronger? What am I spending time on that actually not helping to make profit? So thanks, George, for sharing that. So George, do you every month or so or every week, I'm not sure how often, sit and say, okay, let me look at my business model canvas and work on it, think about it, ask yourself questions about it?
Yes, recently I'm doing it fortnightly.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
because
maybe on a day that's not so busy, maybe for some of us it's on a Sunday afternoon when the family is kind of like quiet too, and we can focus. Go sit
yeah,
under the tree in the garden with your business model canvas and think a bit,
yeah,
ask yourself,
yeah.
or if you have a business partner. I'm not sure how many of us have business partners that we can sit down and actually have a discussion, or with our team members, sort of what is working for you here, what's not working for you here, where can we refine things?
Yeah. Yeah, especially the value proposition part. It's still there, but it still needs refining, and especially it's more aligned with the target audience. So yeah, the value proposition, that's what draws me into a business model canvas to think about it almost every day.
Yeah. Perfect. And the message that I want to leave, or the wish that I have, is that we can use a framework like this, or if you have another framework that's better for you, that's also okay. But that at least on a monthly basis, you find that hour to go sit with your other entrepreneur that your co-owner perhaps, or with senior members in your team, or even sometimes with your customers or other people, and saying, this is my plan, sort of how things fit together. What must I change? What must I refine? Because building a business is an ongoing activity. It's not, your business model is something that you create, but you keep shaping as you go along. So that's my last kind of big learning message Rebecca, and it's not because I'm the what's the title, training manager or whatever. It's because I know from my own business, running my own business,
Yeah.
I know from working with hundreds of entrepreneurs that if you
Yeah.
have this framework and you use it on an ongoing basis, your business will improve. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee. If you do this on an ongoing basis, your business will improve.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Christoph. And on that note, so you have your idea, and now we're going to the bottom of the business model canvas, right? The revenue, the financial part. And without any further ado, over to you, Patricia Dlamini, who will go through and let us know all things costing, pricing, financials.
Thank you, Tobeka. Thank you, Christoph. And I think coming just from what Christoph has just covered in terms of how the BMC, the business model of your business is the heart and center really of your business. All the things I'm going to be talking about in financing, they plug in each element, because if you look at the customer, you need to start thinking, how is my pricing? If you look at your partnerships, you start looking at how I can affect the value chains for me to have enough or to have good pricing. I mean, costs for products or input material. So there is a relationship in this whole thing. So if your BMC is correct, then we know that thoroughly your costs will come right, and you can determine what price and what pricing model you need to determine. So the relationship between your business model and your finances is right plugged on. And we're going to now emphasize, just as a refresher, we have covered all this, and I saw in the chats that a lot of you benefited from pricing and costing and budgeting. So we are just going to touch on the key elements that I still would like to think, if you take anything from this module, these are the things that you should always be applying in your business. We're not talking about always remembering them, but applying in your business. We're going to look at costing briefly. The relationship. What is costing? Why is it important? It is the center of why we start a business. We start a business so that we're able to make money. And we're making money, we're talking about wealth creation, money post paying all the business expenses. So the important thing to achieve that goal is that we have to cost our products correctly. So in costing, we look at various elements, because if we got a good costing structure, then we know that we are able to generate the profits we want. So costing looks at three key elements of costing, which is how you what you charge, what you get charged by your supplier, and how you then from there put in your markup, and then from there you get your selling price. Then we get to the conversation of pricing. So we need to be able to understand that if we cost right, we're able to make good pricing decisions. How much are we charging? What should we be charging for this product? And what value is it creating to the customer will determine also which segment of customers we've selected. So you see the link between your business model and your pricing strategy. So you consistently look at that. Again, being able to cost right, you are able to control your business costs. How much are the inputs of doing this? How much does labor cost me? How much are the overheads? Are we using too much telephone and we're not making sales? How is the link between our phone bill and our communication bill in the organization vis-a-vis our impact in communicating with our important clients, like your stakeholders and customers? So we become competitive if we use these strategies correctly. So the importance of costing is that it allows you to be able to understand and make the right decisions. I did speak about the three elements that I would like you to remember and use all the time when you decide, how am I going to be pricing? You need to know what is the cost price of your product. So you do the costing, and then you move on and say, which industry sector am I marketing? I've segmented my market. So these ones, and my product, I have created value. I know the value that the customers are deriving. Is it a premium product or is it a mass production product? What is the industry saying about also pricing in this product service that I'm doing. So you use that to determine your markup. Once you've determined your markup, you move on to get your selling price. And your selling price will determine whether your business will become profitable. Not only just the selling price, but the selling price and the cost, operational cost of the business. So these three elements of costing are very important. Please remember them. Your selling price comes from what you put in the cost and the markup. Equally, if you want to know what the industry is doing in terms of markup, you can look at the cost of inputs and look at what they're selling, and then you can clearly, roughly tell what competition is charged, what markup they're using, because you know the cost of the inputs. Of course, some clients get preferred sort of suppliers who give them a better price, but that's what in our partnerships we also build to get to. We want to get to a point where we can negotiate our cost of inputs so that we are competitive. I said this activity of costing right and pricing right will determine whether we make our profits. The first layer of profitability in a business is this that we call the gross profit. This is the profit that happens between your sales and the cost of producing those sales. So we call those costs direct costs. So when you are looking at your business, whether it is starting to do well, the first point of reference is, what does my gross profit look like? If I take what I've sold minus the cost of directly generating that sale, the direct cost, and I get a surplus, that surplus is called gross profit. The gross profit's importance is that it has to look like something that will be able to cover your operational costs. Most businesses operate in a space where they are generating a lot of sales. Their cost of inputs or direct costs are too high, and they find that they are barely cutting it with a gross profit. And if you are barely cutting it and you look at your operational costs, which are fixed costs and they are already happening in the business, whether you've sold or you've generated something, they are already happening in the business. Those costs need to be covered. So your pricing right will determine that your gross profit looks favorable for your business. Once you move from your gross profit, you want to determine whether you are making the overall, what you call net profit in the business. I did speak about the importance of gross profit, that it tells you whether you are going to be able to cover your business your operational costs, whether you are running this business efficiently from the production point of view, whether you've obviously priced right. All those things did tell you that you see them when you look at your gross profit margin. From there, once you have covered your operational expenses, you get what we call the net profit. It starts, the first entry is your net profit before tax. This net profit is once you have deducted all the business expenses. This includes first from what you deducted from direct costs, and then you moved to variable costs that grow based on how much you are producing. Then you move to your fixed operational costs. These costs then leave a balance. The bottom line, what we call the bottom line, is what we call net profit before tax. Of course, that figure will then, the taxman, that's where they look to see if your business is now taxable. It's called taxable profit. And then they will determine from there that your business is taxable. And then tax gets charged. After tax has been charged, business will have that is your net profit or loss. Many businesses operate on a net loss when they start. At some point, you aim that I would like to get to a point where my business is breaking even. So we discussed a concept of break even. It is also another important tool for you as a business owner to be able to determine of this sorry,
It
You can
wasn't
keep
me
going.
laughing. I'm not sure
Don't
what the
worry.
joke was, but
Oh,
someone had a joke. But
okay.
Patricia,
All right. No.
we disconnected your video so that we can actually hear you properly.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Of this, and where was I was speaking about? Sorry for that. I was speaking about the break-even point. I said many businesses, when they start out, they operate either at just breaking even, which is when your costs equal your expenses. Total costs equal total income equals your total expenses of the business, all the expenses of your business. So you are neither making a loss or making a profit in break even. This is the space where many businesses find themselves operating when they're not in the red. And we all aspire, the plan to grow our businesses is that we aspire to tip over to the green side of profitability. And that we do by being able to analyze how much would we need to sell to be able to cover our business expenses. What costs do we need to look at and review to be able to start feeling the profits of the business? So the break-even point will tell you that at this point, these are the sales that I would need to cover, and or if I can't push the market further, how are my operational efficiencies? Am I efficient? Am I delivering efficient business operations? How are my costs? How are my employees? Are we meeting the targets? Are we not getting return work? Is production quality meeting the standards? Are we not getting repeats and scrap work? All those conversations come once you have been able to understand that your business at the moment is either not making a profit, being unable to cover all of its operational expenses, or it's at break even, but we are fighting to get to profitability, because as a business owner, the value of our investment in the business is once we can have profits after every expense of the business has been paid. So the break even allows you to see that view and make good decisions, determine the sales, know how to and when you're going to be able to make profits. Also, the break even will help you when you're projecting, you're doing your cash flow budgeting. You will know at what point I will break even and at what point I'll start making profits, so that they track and cover the other months. So all this conversation will not be if we obviously do not have the data that we collect as we trade. So we are going to remember that I said in the workshop, record keeping also is the pulse of the business. We said we want to know our costs, our pricing, our net profit, our gross profit, but all those things require input. The input is the documents and the records that we keep for ourselves in our business. So we're going to understand that we need to keep those records, firstly, because we need to know what's going on as business owners. But secondly, the information is also very relevant to other investors. Should we want to raise funding, if you go to the bank, they want to see your balance sheet, they want to see your income statement. If you want to bring in an investor, they want to know how your business is doing. They ask you about what is your gross profit margin. They're interested to know if your production is efficient. Again, the other thing that's important about record keeping is that we are legally required to keep records of our business, especially some legal entities like NPOs, NGOs that get public funding. They need to keep the record. But for you as a PTY Ltd company owner, it is important for you should you wish to get investors. The kind of documents we keep that we generate in the business are like our quotations, our sales invoices, statements, and also receipts that we issue when we pay our suppliers. The other documents that we receive also that we still need to keep invoices from suppliers, receipts from customers, account statements, creditor statements. All those documents will help us be able to generate what we call our financial statements or accounts, what we call accounts. And there's a basic process in generating our accounts. This process is just generally called the accounting process. We have input. We've just spoken about what the input looks like. It is those documents that we generate internally and the ones that we receive from external that we keep to show that a transaction has happened. That is an input. We call them source documents. And then what happens is the transaction between once the source document, you have transaction, somebody sends you an invoice because you bought stock material, and then you pay the invoice, and maybe you get a discount. All those are called processing that then allows you to be able to generate the final records, which are the income statements, balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. That is the output. So just to get to the close of the conversation, what we need to be able to read. I don't say do, because we need to engage maybe accountants or bookkeepers to do the final accounts for us. But the record keeping, day-to-day record keeping, can be done internally in your business. You just create either use manual or use automated tools. There are various automated tools that you guys spoke about earlier on, previously, and that you're using. So you need to be able to read and interpret what the income statements tells you, what the cash flow statement and the balance sheet tells you. Just to remind you, the income statement will tell you if your business is profitable, if your business is operating efficiently. That's the role of the income statement. And can we move to the next slide, please? So it will show you whether your business is making a profit or not, and it is for a specific period. So when the accountants prepare your income statement, it will give you that measure and understanding if my business is profitable. If not, when will it be profitable? When you do your projections. So this is when you do your projections of your income statement and say, this is my budget. I intend to sell so much. These are the overheads that I intend to do. And maybe in the next 3, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, will the business sustain not being profitable for over 24 months? How, if I'm going to sustain it, how am I going to sustain it? So it helps you also make those plans in terms of that. That's important is your cash flow statement. Your cash flow statement is one that shows you how cash moves in your business. Now, this speaks to money that has come into the business. The difference with the income statement and the cash statement is that at a particular point, you invoice what you have done, which is work done. It becomes revenue. But a cash flow doesn't look at the revenue that has been invoiced, but it looks at what of the revenue has been paid into the business. So it helps you determine at a particular point how much money you have in the business. That's called how liquid is your business. How much money is available for you to take other strides in the business and do other activities. So your cash flow statement determines that and helps you. The final record is your balance sheet. Your balance sheet will tell you what assets are there, who do you owe, and how much, and what is the value after they look at your assets, who you owe, and the balance becomes the value to you as a shareholder. Other investors will want to see that. The interest is to be able to see, oh, if I invest in this business, every time the liabilities are higher, so the company is over indebted, am I interested to take this liability? So it makes you see how this operates. So in summary, if we move away, I've mentioned in summary, we look at 3 main things when we're running a business, 3 main themes, not things. It's your budget, which is projections of how you see this business happening, and then you track your budgets. And then you move on to look at your cash and cash management. That you use your cash flow statements to see the day-to-day activities on the business. And then the final documents, your income statements and your balance sheet, they are said to look at the past. They help you to reflect at what stage Has my business been doing well? At what stage in the previous 12 months? Which months are peak season? Which months are low season? So you start determining a pattern and be able to make better sort of plans and judgments for the next part of your business. So in overall, this is me, and this is what you need to remember and follow through and continue doing, because I see a lot of you have been doing it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Dlamini. A very important thing. Look at your history. You know December's quiet and January and February. Keep saving your cash income so that you don't have a problem next year like you did this year, possibly. Thank you. That hits close to the heart, eh? And without it really hits close. There was one question. Feel free to answer it in the chat, Ms. Dlamini, around what is a good gross profit margin for businesses in different industries. I don't know if, because I actually wanted to ask what industry are you in, but you can respond to that in the chat. And while that's happening, thank you all for your questions and your insights and your thoughts. And over to, I think without any further ado, we are running a marathon, Lana, ne? Sizofumana nje, we are absorbing, we are moving things around, we are learning. And none other than our awesome implement lead, our author. I don't know if you are still the oil lady, angazi ukuthi uyephi, kepha uzizo zonke, Aqua Fresh 3-in-1 mum. Over to you with that lovely Aqua Fresh smile and laughter. Please, let's unmute you and tell us and educate us. Akaloko manje u-AI has been talking, saying it's been quiet lapha kwi-chat. Sengiyezwa ke manje, unmute ke, ngiyabonga.
Hi everyone. So good to be here. You know, just being in a space of learning, it is just so great. You know, just taking from what Christoph said, I just want to reiterate a bit. You know, he said one of the most important things as entrepreneurs is to understand value. And I just want to reiterate that, because that is at the heart of what business is about, understanding value. It's so important, Tobeka, that I have 2 chapters in my book. A chapter on recognizing value and a chapter on adding value. That's how important it is. Okay, and then Patricia mentioned that record keeping is the pulse of a business, and it is so true. And that just reminded me of a time when I had a different kind of business, a print business, and I used to like. You know, when you know, when you now understand these things, when you understand the importance of record keeping, and I used to have a dashboard. So every day I'm able to look at how much were my sales, how much were my expenses, how much profit have I made each and every day. And I tell you, it used to make me feel like, you know, when you are driving an aeroplane and there are so many things that you are looking at as you are driving. I've never driven an aeroplane, but I used to feel like that. And I wish for you to get to that point, because that is an exciting point. When your business is like this, you know, when it's in your hands like this and you have control over it, wow, it is exciting. It is exciting. So we're speaking about revenue. We spoke about revenue. It's an outcome of the exchange of value. It's value we exchanging value. That's why it's important. The right client is there for you. And the right client has a problem. And the right client wants a solution. And they also want an experience. That's the right client. But for you to be able to meet that right client, you have to be the right you. Okay, now let us ask a few questions. What has changed? Put it in your chat. What has changed in your business? Are you trading with the right client now? Are you having the right client? Because sometimes we trade with the client that is not right. Sometimes we trade with clients that are free people. You know, there are people that are called free people, free people, because they want you to give services mahala. The free people. Are you still trading with those? Those are not your right client. Are you providing the right solution to them? Are you giving them the right experience? Are they saying, wow? You know, when you give them a service, are they saying, wow? Are you being the right you? What has changed in your business? Please tell us. Please tell us what has changed. Are you having the right client? Are you giving the right solution? Are you giving the right experience? Do you know that if you have this lovely dynamic, you can compete with giants and still win? You can be a David in the market fighting against Goliath. Do you know that? If you have this right formula, you can be a David in the market and still be able to compete, even with big clients like Checkers, simply because your formula is right. You have the right client. You have the right solution. You're giving the right experience. They are saying, wow, and you are being the right you. Okay, I see you are responding. Thank you so much. Now, when you are in this, are you then reaching? What has changed in terms of your market reach? Are you reaching more people? Has your revenue changed? Has your salary changed? Are you now getting the salary that you deserve? Because when we started, some of you were not even getting a salary in your business. Are you now getting a salary, the salary that you deserve? Can you say, hey, my business is profitable now? Or are you still crying and saying, hey, I'm still not even breaking even? But you know that you are getting there. You are getting there. You are getting there. So how is that change affecting you? Have you employed more people? How is that change affecting you? Okay. So what I want you to know today is that, do you know that the right client is looking for you? Do you know that? This thing is not just one-sided. It's not you looking for them. They are also looking for you. So the right client is looking for you just as much as you are looking for them. You are looking for each other. So there has to be a formula of saying, how do I find them? Because they are also saying, how do I find you? And then there's the next question of saying, what will make them to commit to the exchange of value? You give them your solution, they give you the money. What will make them commit? So marketing is just understanding that. Marketing is understanding that game. You know, they are looking for you, you are looking for them, and how are you going to find each other? And then sales, how are you then going to make them to commit to their money, to what you are giving them? So marketing is about creating awareness. It's about generating leads. It's long-term and it's ongoing. And it's about advertising and promotions, reaching a broad audience, and the The success of marketing is measured by reach. Sales, on the other hand, is saying, okay, now that we have found each other, now that we know of each other, let the exchange happen. Let the exchange of value happen. You want the money, they want the solution, and that is the sales part. So, and this is the model. So, awareness, and they start by being aware. They will know that, oh, you know what? UGeorge ukhona, uBongikosi ukhona, uAdorable ukhona, uNdibu ukhona. You know, they will know, oh, there's someone who's doing this and this and this and this. But then they now have to get to the next level and say, hey, you know what? I think I'm interested in what they are selling. You know, I'm interested. And then the next step, you must now be able to convert that interest into a desire. They must say, oh, I want it. I want it and I want it now. So that interest must convert into a desire and therefore to action. Action is when now they commit their money and to buy what you are selling. So that is the funnel that we have been talking about. So they change from being just people in the sea of many, many people. They change and they become prospects, people who have an interest. Prospects have an interest. And then leads now have a desire. And then gets to that point where you commit, that is when it's a deal. It is a customer. But remember, we don't want customers, we want clients. Why? Because customers come and buy once. We want clients because clients come again and again and again. We retain them. Eh? So now, who is the right client for you? Now, in this session, I want us to remember this word, BANT, B-A-N-T, BANT. Please just write BANT in the chat. Write BANT, I will explain it because I want you to live with this. BANT, BANT, yes, Adorable. BANT, thank you, Adorable. Okay, so remember I said the right customer, the right, not customer, we don't want customers, we want clients. Clients come again and again and again. We want the right client. The right client is a person who has BANT. One, they have the B. Okay. Even though we say BANT, but okay. So they have the budget. They have the money. 3 people are not yours. They are not the right client. 3 people, they are not the right client. Ne? The right client has budget. They have the money. The right client has the authority to make a decision. Now, this is particularly important when we are selling in B2B environments. You can find that you are speaking with a PA and the PA has no power to make an authority. You are busy speaking to them instead of speaking to the right person who has the authority to make a decision. So that's the A of BANT. Now the N is the need. That's the important one. They have a need for this. They have a need for your product. They have a need for your service. And even their personality, their goals, their values, because remember, you have those values. That's why you produced or are giving the service. So gonna match, you guys match. There's a match, there's a fit in terms of you and your client. So they've got the need, and then the next thing is time. The timing is right for them. Because sometimes we are selling, it may not be the right time. So band, very important. Okay. Okay. So we've spoken about the value proposition. Christoph has spoken about the value proposition. So your value proposition, remember I said your value proposition can make you a David and make you be able to slay giants. Ne? So it is what your customer needs, and it is what you are able to compete with. It's what makes you stand out in your environment. And it's in line with what you are good at, your superpower, but also with the resources that you already have in your business to be able to deliver that wow experience that your client is giving. So you can have the solution, but does your solution have a wow?
Now I want to know, what is this right solution?
You can have the solution, but does it have a wow? Let me tell you. You go to Spare, it's your birthday. You're taking your child or your partner to Spare. It's their birthday. Spare is going to give you the food like any other restaurant. But they're also going to sing and dance for you, isn't it?
Correct.
That's their wow. That is their wow. Okay? So do you have a wow? And that's the experience. Okay? Next slide, please.
Amazing. So we're going to see what the objectives are. So let's see, how do we handle our objections? How's that as a way?
Yes. So sales, remember sales is about making sure that there is that exchange. But during that exchange, a client is going to present you with objections. It's going to say, no, I don't want this, or whatever objections. So one of the things you have to do in sales, you must be able to understand objections and handle them. So objections are not outright rejections or personal criticisms. If it's your right client, remember the right client is also looking for you.
Yeah.
So the objections, they also follow band. The objections can be with, hey, I want it, but I don't have budget now, but because they want it so much, they can save for it. Okay. So objections follow band. Needs, a person can say, I don't need it. And not because they don't need it, but simply because they don't understand the benefits that you are offering. They don't understand the benefits of your product. Time. They may say, oh, I want it, but I don't want it now. They may not have the authority, we said, but they may also not trust you. Will you be able to deliver? Will you be able to do it the way I want it?
Gotcha.
So you have to be able to answer all of those objections.
Yeah.
Okay. So in sales, when I was learning sales many years ago, it used to be said you must always be closing, always be closing. But now there's a new term, and it says always be connecting. So you must always be connecting with the right client, because the more you connect with them, the more of them that you connect with, the more you are going to convert them into clients.
Gotcha.
Okay? So let's summarize. Band. Firstly, Know that your client is looking for you. Know that. Know that you must be able to articulate your value proposition. Know that you must be able to articulate the objections that they are going to have.
Yep.
Know that you must be able to handle those objections so well that they must be able to take the money out and give it to you. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sis Nomvuyo. And there are some comments in the chat. Feel free to go and respond to that. And of course, we are on the roll here. And without any further ado, while we clap hands for Sis Nomvuyo and Madlamini, we're also clapping hands as we have Sfiso coming on and telling us more about the other aspect of what we've been doing. And it's really around growing. Oh, no, not our growth plan. Yeah, growth plan and goal setting. Over to you, Sis Nomvuyo. Pule, I'm sorry, no question right now. Feel free to put it in the chat and then we'll come back to you. Well, over to you, Butsfiso Ndwandwe.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Very well. And if we have a problem, we'll switch off your video and then you can keep going.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much to the previous colleagues, and I hope the picture is coming together and we are ready to take our businesses to extreme new heights. What I'm going to be discussing with you is basically trying to pull this discussion at a high level and understanding vision, goals, plans, and action. How do we take this and now develop a growth plan? Because it's well and good to have the conversation we're having, but how do you walk away here and actually create a plan that will make you realize the vision of your business? So the first question is, you have a vision. Can you go back this previous slide, please? You have a vision for your business, and I want to take you back to you thinking deeply about what is your vision for your successful business. And go into the chat function and please just put your vision as succinctly as possible with as few words as possible, because it's very important that that vision is always stuck and it's the easiest thing for you to do. So you have a vision for your successful business, because all these pieces from value proposition to costing, pricing, and profitability to marketing and sales, all are driven by a vision for a successful business. So it's important to have that vision. Without that vision, then you don't know why you're waking up every morning. Without that vision, you don't know why you have to carry the pain that you have to carry with the challenges that you'll be facing through the day and through the weeks and months that follow as you pursue your business. Next slide, please. And once you have clarified your vision, we then ask the question, how will you increase the likelihood of success of that vision? Because it's one thing to have a vision, but I think what is most important is that vision achievable? And how do you make sure then that you can actually achieve it? How do you increase the likelihood of success? We are told that over 85%, maybe sometimes more, of businesses that start today will not be in existence in the next 5 years. So you are probably 60, 70 businesses here. It's quite likely that in the next 5 years, quite a number of you would have made millions, and quite a number of you would have probably gone out of business or started some other new business. That is just how it is. So how do we make sure then that this program you've been in actually increases the likelihood of your success? That's important. Next slide, please. And we talked about vision. So having vision, the vision is very important, and that is the starting point. And it's just the starting point. But we must not live in a visionary world where all we do is dream, 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 dream. In order for those dreams to be realized, it's very important for us to then work out what does it take for us to actually achieve that vision. If in your mind, your vision is to be the main supplier of a particular product in a particular market that you have defined for yourself, to be the main key supplier, in that it's not enough to say that, because that vision is as good as non-existent if you have not defined the next level of planning, which is setting goals, clear goals. What are the goals, 2 or 3 or 4 goals that will take you towards that vision? And then obviously taking each of the goals and saying each of the goals, how do I achieve that goal? For example, you may say, I want this year to achieve a turnover of R1 million for this product in my business. That's a goal. The question then becomes, is that enough? It's not enough. There is the question that must be asked, how will you achieve that goal? And that is where it comes to planning. So you have to develop specific plans that says, these are the things and activities I'm going to go into the marketplace, and I'm going to make sure that my value proposition is understood by the clients. I'm going to connect to the right clients. I'm going to make sure that my costing and pricing and profitability is well aligned. And I'm going to make sure that I'm there in the face of the customers. And I apply all the principles that have been taught to me. So that's important. But those plans and those goals and that vision of yours is also as good as a piece in the wind, unless and until we act on it. So what are the actions, therefore, that you will take, not just once in a while, every day? You are walking towards your vision. You are doing activities that feed into your plans, the plans that make you realize your goals, the goals that walk you towards your vision. Next slide, please. So it's very important that as entrepreneurs, we know it's hard work, but what is most important is action. At the end of the day, are we having action? What are you doing today to walk towards your plans? What are we doing today to walk towards your goals and visions? So that's important. Next slide, please. So in summary, it's important, therefore, for us to set goals, because it is through these goals and these convictions that then we can transform our future. We can realize the dreams that we have. So it needs to start there. Clear goals that take us and transform us and transport us even into the future. And we talked about, you'll remember, the SMART goals. I don't have to remind you this. You know the SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. This is very important. So you need to make sure it's not enough to say, I've got a goal. I want to be the best in the industry. It's not good enough because it's not measurable. What does best in the industry mean? You need to say, I want to perhaps have 30% of the market share, or I need to be able to make a turnover of 10 million rand. It is measurable. And you must then make sure that you state the period. When is it? Are you going to do it in 5 years, in 2 years, in 3 years? When is it? And it must also make sense. It must be relevant. It must not be just a dream goal that is not achievable. So the relevance becomes important, as well as the achievability of that goal becomes important. Next slide, please. Therefore, it's important that goals actually lead us into the future. But goals in themselves, again, I'll remind you, it's about action. It's about planning. It's about action. Next slide, please. So we have gone through this. So it's very important that our planning as we set these goals is based on our resources, our skills, and location. So it's very important to be practical when we're doing the planning and when we do the action points, and we know the resources, the time we have, the team that we have, and the resources. And by the way, many entrepreneurs say, hey, I can't do this business because I don't have money. And that is a weakness in the planning and the thinking. It's always important to say, how do I resource this business? I may not have the resources, but where else and how else can I leverage resources to actually get my dream realized? Next slide, please. Yes, some of you, perhaps, if you have done history, would know of this British Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. He was Prime Minister of England during the World War. And he is, I think, well known, I think, for a lot of wisdom and leadership displayed during his era. And one of the things that he says is that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So whether you like it or not, you have a plan. That plan, it depends whether that plan is for success or towards failure. Next slide, please. And again, you would know this guy, Mike Tyson, as you know. And all of us have plans, and some plans are very good, but often we get punched in the mouth. And that plan falls into pieces. But it's important as entrepreneurs that we rise again and we stand up and we continue with the fight. And again, it's very important that there will be punches in our faces many times, and we'll have many setbacks in our businesses. We must know how to recover. We must know that failure is temporary. We must also know that failure is actually the gateway to success. We must not just say, because I've been bitten and I'm off the game. It is actually a chance for you to think and to learn from that failure and to move forward. Next slide, please. So it's very important to have this cycle where we plan and do and review. So it's a continuous thing. It never happens. You never have a complete plan. Even the plan that you have in place, even the activities that you have planned to do, you have to continuously look at them and review them, because what you did today and did not work, you don't repeat that tomorrow. You do something else. You say, let me try this because yesterday I did this and it didn't work. So you plan all the time, you do all the time, and you review all the time. And then obviously, please develop, and this is my very important message to you, please develop an action plan. You have set your goals. You have your vision. You have set your goals. You develop a plan. And this plan is the most important thing. It's not enough to have that plan in your head. How many of you have a plan for a business? Can you go to the chat function and just say, I do. And give yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 how good your plan is. Has it got SMART goals? Has it got a task and subtask? Has it got planned outcomes? And it's clear measurability, there are deadlines, there are risk and all that. Please don't just say I do, as Zile. Please say I do, and I put my plan at 4 out of 5. I want to know. Evaluate yourself. How good is your plan? First, do you have one? If you do, say I do, but tell me, how do you rate your own plan, your action plan? Because unless, and this is what I would advise you, that this is what you need to take to ever can assist you to actually refine your plan, your action plan, because this is where your dream, your vision, and your goals are achieved. You fail at this level, you have failed. Next slide, please. I like that. Somebody said 4 out of 5. I like that. Let's see who else is saying stuff. 4 out of 5. I like the 4 out of 5. I would like to be able to, who else? 3 out of 5. I want to see if there's a perfect 5. But yeah, thank you, Mbali. Thank you, Kansani. Some more, please. I'd like to see many scores here, because all of us have a plan. And you can put yourself 0 if you don't have a plan. And by the way, I don't mean the plan that is in your head. I mean a plan that is well written out.
Yeah.
Well written out, that you consult, like your Bible that you read every night. You consult it when you go to sleep, and you meditate on it. In the morning, you wake up, you have action. Your action points of every day are based on your plan that is taking you towards your goals, which goals are taking you towards your vision. So how many of you have a written out plan that is not just shelved somewhere or somewhere in your computer? How many of you do that? 4 out of 5. Tando is very very, very 4.5. So that's pretty good. But I wonder what the others are saying. I do 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. Pule, thank you. Tando, thank you. I would have liked to see more. The last message that you see on that slide that I'd like to leave you with. Please take me to that slide, ma'am, for a second. And that slide basically says, please do start where you are and use what you have and do what you can. By the way, what you can is a lot. So don't procrastinate and don't wait for manna to come from heaven. Use what you have. This is what entrepreneurship is about. It's about lean startup. Use what you have and use your creativity. Innovation is what entrepreneurs are made out of. So you don't have to be waiting and hoping the next year you might get win the lotto. Use what you have. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Butsfiso. You know, it is always about the plan and also being flexible and open. Like all of us, when we started our facilitating or training, most of us here, I mean, I started mine in 2014 and it was about Joburg. And then it moved from being Joburg to Cape Town. And it moved from Joburg, Cape Town, a little bit of Africa but 2020 added something very interesting for us. We suddenly had to pivot our businesses and reevaluate. Even though we had a plan, it wasn't too hard to move and say, okay, let's do things online. And it's just a thought around, think about that, like always make sure you have that plan, not in your head, write it down because it will evolve and change. And that's okay. But you see your journey so that when you're ahead and you stuck, you can go back and say, oh, wait a minute, I said something here. What was it? Any things that have come out in the chat, colleagues, before we have our next speaker, CEO? We just have like 2 more minutes. If there's any insights that we can share. Or a question, a very brief question around.
I saw Adorable commenting there on using SMART goals. Maybe she can share with us how she's doing it, you know, sort of. So we heard about SMART goals a lot and how it fits with vision and getting successful businesses we want. But maybe the Adorable can quickly share with us how she commented there in the text chat. So maybe she can share with us if you want to switch your camera and your mic, or just your mic, Adorable.
Hi, everyone. With me, my coach usually pushed me beyond what I can actually achieve. Like when I made goals, she always asked me, is it SMART goals? And then I knew that going into the session, having set my goals, I had to go back to check if each and every one of them were SMART goals. And they became attainable with everything that I did throughout the past few months. There's a lot that changed within my business. There's a lot of improvement that I have seen ever since starting the program, because I knew each and every session I had set myself goals and I made sure to achieve them. And we have come a long way. I've even exceeded some of the goals that I've set because of maybe at first, before even joining the program, I did have goals, but they were just goals, but not SMART goals. And from the coaching sessions, I've started to apply SMART goals and take out the fear of going out there and doing things. And maybe that's where it led. So yeah, I just really wanted to say thank you. I've written on the comment to say thank you to Uputsfiso for leading a coaching team that has been like doing exceptionally well. You can see what he's saying does translate to what they have been doing. So you can see that there was good leadership within that space, and they had instilled within them something that they were supposed to instill in us and create a great mentorship for us. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Great. Thank you, Adorable. A very valuable 2 cents, by the way. It makes us get to 100. So don't ever underestimate. Thank you. Putsia, Madod,
Hi, hi, Sister Vega.
you good?
I'm very well. And yourself?
I'm very well. Loving the smile, loving the excitement as you are now approaching and telling us a little more around success. I love this topic. It is very close to my heart, but it's all over to you, Putwam. Thank you. Hand of applause to Putsia. Thank you, Putsviso. Hand of applause as well. And over to you. Matol.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this and another opportunity to share a bit of my journey with you. It's truly an honor to share my story and experiences with such a motivated group of young entrepreneurs. I'm Sia Madolo. I began my business journey in air conditioning, a trade I learned through hands-on experience and eventually turned into a business. Today, my work has expanded into mentorship and business advisory. In our time together, I hope to share not only my personal journey, but also some valuable lessons from the L+EARN Biz program. My goal is to inspire you, provide practical takeaways, and encourage you to embrace both the opportunities and challenges that come with entrepreneurship, especially in our township communities. My entrepreneurial journey's early beginnings started out driven by independence, which grew from taking small jobs during my formative school holidays. After high school, I decided to pursue mechanical engineering, and this curiosity for technical work laid the foundation for my career. I then moved into the corporate world, but I craved for something more. I wanted the freedom to innovate. In finding my path after I left my job, I then took a big risk to start my own aircon business. And moving from a stable job to the unknown of starting a business wasn't easy, but embracing risk is key to achieving growth. This leap allowed me to learn essential skills in management, planning, and decision making. Like many of you, I started with whatever resources I had. In fact, one of my first business jobs was fixing salon hair dryers in Tembisa Township. It wasn't glamorous, but those small jobs taught me a lot about building skills and resilience. I remember going to Mamelodi Sundowns offices. I met the security guards at the gate. I was told that I needed to make an appointment before I could be allowed in. So I humbly requested them to look and ask for someone relevant that I could talk to if I want to pitch my business. And they did that for me. They phoned someone within and they got an answer to say I should phone a lady who worked with suppliers and service providers. They gave me that number and then I went away. Later that day, I phoned in and then I found the lady. She told me that I could come back on an appointment with my business profile, and I was ready. I was ready. And at the appointment date, I went back with their profile to the offices. Then at the gate, I then said, I've got an appointment with this lady. They allowed me in, and I felt so good when I walked in and I met her. She took my profile and she said she will then keep it for in the event they would need my services. So I left the offices with the profile with her. It was hardly 2 weeks. It might have been a week plus some days. Then I got a call that appeared on my phone. Mamelodi Sundowns. It was her phoning me. Hi, Zia. We are having a challenge in the boardroom. It's an aircon challenge. I smiled. I smiled. So I'm wondering if you could come, make it to our offices as soon as you can, because the president, and she was referring to Dr. Petrus Mutsepe, that he would come around to hold a meeting with them later that week. So it would not be nice for him to come in a boardroom without an aircon, she said. I smiled and I smiled again. I then suggested to be there within an hour. And she agreed and said, yeah, it will be much appreciated. I literally dropped everything. I went there to check that aircon. Wow. I went to that bedroom, diagnosed the aircon, found the problem, resolved and solved the problem, and the aircon was working. Then I went to her office and I said she could come in the boardroom and have a feel. As she walked in, the joy, the smile was written on her face that the aircon was working. It was like magic, and the rest was history. Oh, she went around with me basically to each office to find out if other staff members were not experiencing aircon challenges. Then I found myself doing more than the boardroom in the consecutive days. And later on within that month, I was called in to come collect my check. I got paid with the check at the time. I took the check out of the envelope and looked at it and put it back in the envelope, and I drove away. It was smiles all the way, I'm telling you. I even made a copy and framed that check because it was both sentimental and a milestone for me. Then later, I found that it was an easy job for me to attract bigger clients. I even saw the then JSE listed company, Group 5, coming in. They were building an old age 22 units complex somewhere in the Ekuru Lane. And my company was appointed as one of the subcontractors for a 3 months installation contract. We needed to do that installation in each of those units. It was one of those moments where I felt so good that now I am doing business. Then I had to literally ask people around and knock on doors to assist me in that contract. And one friend of mine who had recently purchased an LDV, load delivery van, assisted me by lending me his LDV so that I can carry and service that contract. Much as I was happy I had the contract with me, but I was unhappy at the other side because for some reason there were delays in responses, or it was a matter of bring this and that, and the time was moving, was not stopping and waiting for me. But the enthusiasm was so high that I couldn't care much that there was some resistance. I didn't have the money to purchase material. I went around knocking on those doors, and that was a tedious exercise to do. I was youth at the time, and I went from one organization to another until one youth organization agency showed interest in helping out for funding my contract and to fund my materials. The day I went in there, I had asked at the reception to talk to someone regarding funding the contract, and they were interested. Okay. I was attended within 15 minutes up to 20 minutes, and they requested that I bring some relevant documentation. I went out to fetch those documents as they were in the vehicle parked outside. I tell you, I faced challenges. Like any entrepreneur, and I had my fair share of hurdles. For example, one of my biggest setbacks happened when I went out to go fetch the documentation. As I walked out, I looked and I looked. The LTV is gone, stolen. Now I found myself in this predicament. What a painful situation. In that at that point in time, I was clueless what to do, and for a moment I had my head down, disappointed. At the same time, I had to alert the owner to crack this sad news. The LDV has been stolen. Tears ran down my face. I felt the excruciating pain. Okay, fast forward into that. I then asked him, because he had a very old truck which he was not using. And I asked him one more time, look, I see you've got an old truck. Does it start? And he said, it starts, but never gets to use it because it had some faults. It was rusted, didn't have side windows, and the exhaust silencer had a big hole and was making such a big noise. And I felt if it can go, I can might as well use it. Then he gave me. I felt I needed to do something. I could not allow disappointment tear me down. I gathered the police case documents, my temporary ID, my temporary license, because everything was gone with the previous vehicle. So I gathered everything into one file. There I was, back on the road. Wherever the Metro Police would stop me, I would narrate my story. I would hand over my file and say, this is what had happened. I had the brand new LTV, which was stolen. I need to finish the contract for the client. I would promise them and say, this truck will go and travel this route between the client's place, the supplier, and back to my office. Can I be allowed just to service my contract with the client? And I'll be responsible on the road. I'll take care for the fact that I know the truck wasn't 100% on the road. They would look at me and allowed me. At some stage, they accompanied me. Can you believe being accompanied by Metro Police? I felt like a big guy at the moment. And I felt that way because I could talk to people. I could make them understand as to why am I doing this way. And I finished that contract within time, excellently. So this experience taught me that being an entrepreneur truly requires nerves of steel and the ability to bite the bullet during difficult times. Even in those challenging moments, I kept pushing forward because I knew every problem had a solution if I just kept on with focus. So focus has been my weapon. Pivoting to mentorship happened when COVID-19 hit. My business faced new challenges and eventually I had to make difficult decision to close it. And losing something I had built for so many years was a heartbreak, but it also opened new doors. During this time, I found that my true passion lay in helping other entrepreneurs. I transformed my career and took my mentorship roles to support others in building their own resilient businesses. So the path to success, I would say it's your mindset and resilience. It is you starting small, going for big, and also adaptability, which I find crucial. And markets change, circumstances change, and your approach may need to change as well. So my closing core message for you as we wrap up is I want to leave you with this. You as an entrepreneur are a special breed. You bring unique value to our economy and our communities. And your journey matters more than you might realize. And I encourage you that you, each one of us, take what you've learned here and put it into action. Support each other, build your networks, and never stop striving for your goals. And I thank all the organizers from the lead coach, Mamu Nomvoyo, Baba Sfiso, Sistobeka, Christoph, Rashida, Amanda, for creating this inspiring space for township entrepreneurs. I hope this was worth your while, and I'll be able to answer any questions or comments and connecting with you afterwards.
Just letting that settle, just letting that insight just settle in our bones. Mm. What is the one word that comes to you right now? Just one word. Put it in the chat. Unmute. Thank you, Sia. Thank you, Sis Nomvuyo. Thank you, Utsviso. Thank you, Sis Patricia. Thank you, Christoph, for sharing and giving us insight. None of us are here by mistake. And no matter what comes down your path, can you imagine? Oh, yes, guys. And then what you had with confidence is gone, gone. And he did not allow that to bring him down, be it, oh, you know, bad luck, other people, oh, luckier than I, because we'll always find reasons for it to be external, and just dig deep and trust and believe and keep going. That is what he's gone through. Yeah. Thank you. And all of you, Nila Panje, all 58 of you, make it happen. Find the right people, because I'm sure if I had to chat with Sia more and all of us, his environment, I'm sure he lost friends. I'm sure he had to leave people back who he started with, who weren't supportive, who thought he was a madman. What was his one thing? He said, we are very, entrepreneurs are what?
Special breed.
See, special breed. Hey,
So
yeah, people will think we're mad, guys. I
Yeah.
want to get December go, and we are going through the most, and people will be like, "I've not got the 12th check." On good to and I don't have 12 check right now, but I keep going because I believe in something, right?
and
You
at
keep going.
times you go for months without, and you pay everybody else, but you.
I like the love. The love tells us a lot. Good, but yet you keep going. Yes, it's the money, but it's the passion and the love. It's all of these things together. It isn't one or the other, as long as they're intertwined, right? It's not like saying there's a different part of our body that's more important, or our organs. Every organ has a purpose, and all these intersections of the business model canvas, our environment, our people, our friends. I think I've said enough. Colleagues, anyone before we have Rashida come on? I love the words that have come up.
You know, Sia, that's really inspiring. You've shared a very inspiring thing. And what I want to say is to reassure our entrepreneurs of two things. One, that it is about action. Things don't have to be perfect before you take action. And if we look at your story, you did not fold your arms and say, hey, imoto ba intshontshe. You took action. You made a plan. Despite ukuthi kwenzekani and whatever happens, you took action. You saw yourself at the Mamelodi Sundowns offices before you had a contract. Before you had a contract, you already saw yourself there. And that is what vision is about. So I want that to remain in each and every entrepreneur. And I also want to say to each and every entrepreneur that every coach that we have here in our program is an entrepreneur themselves. And every coach will tell you similar stories. And that is why we do what we do, because we have gone through the worst and we felt that, you know what, let me make it easier for other people so that they feel supported. as they go through what they are going through. So, dear entrepreneur, there is no problem that you cannot solve if you believe that you can. Thank you.
Just from me, Sia, your story is really a marvel. Every entrepreneur needs to know that as they do what they do every day in their businesses, they are writing that story. And one day that story will make other people say, ah. So keep doing it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sis Patricia.
Rush, over to you. Ms. Pandey, Rashid.
Wow, what a session. It's sitting here in my throat now, Coach Sia, because I can empathize with you on so many levels. Sure, but it's all worth it to know the freedom I now have to be in this room with you all. It's a result of being determined and being resilient and showing up. I'm just grateful to be here. So I'll move into the thingy. So some of you will notice there's something on my skin. I had a bit of a growth in my mouth, so no one's hitting me. It's just a thing, and I know it's obvious. So I thought I'd mention it.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Go ahead. You
It's
still
okay.
good.
Anyway, so just to remind you what's coming up, right? So today you've had your content refresher workshop, and you will now be moving into, on Friday, we'll go on to your Being Fundable group coaching session. So it's a first for all of us. We will have our panel of coaches who are experts in assisting small businesses in getting funds for their businesses, and you will actually have some time in smaller groups to go through some of your thinking around what it takes to become fundable. But it's not really where we'll present a lot of content. In fact, the coaches will host a smaller breakout groups with you. And I really want to encourage you to come with any questions you may have about being fundable. If you've gone through the journey recently, come prepared to ask, questions about where you may have been stuck, or if you've succeeded, come prepared to share your learnings and your insight that you've gained. Then, after that, you will note that we will be reviewing all the pitching videos, right? So we are going to shortlist some of you, and that will be communicated. But stay tuned for that communication. That happens probably by next week, and then we move into your participant feedback for. So you'll notice that this week should have been the deadline for your feedback, the end of cycle feedback that you usually do, because we've had more workshops like the today's session, the content refresher, the group coaching that we'll still have. And then we also have a special treat for you next week where we're going to do a mental well-being session. We want to make sure that your last feedback, you can really reflect on all of those things. And so therefore, we've extended it to next week, the 20th of November. Okay, and then once so that will be immediately after your mental well-being session. Thereafter, by the 22nd of November, so stay tuned for notices about the pitch, because on the 22nd of November, some of you will be given the opportunity to resubmit your video, but we'll give you some guidance on that. So it's going to be, some of you were shortlisted that will be invited to this particular session. And we'll then give you an opportunity to resubmit your video, just so that, when the judges eventually view it in our awarding ceremony, it's ready from a video perspective, and that it plays well and looks well and is quite polished. And then lastly, at the end of or just before the end of our closeout event, which is the 27th of November, from the 21st to the 26th, you will be receiving notice from our team to complete your program assessment. And the deadline for that will be the 26th of November, but we are aiming to issue it to you by the 21st. So you would have a week at least to do that. But that is really to go over and just take you all the way back and just reflect on the journey that has been on the L+EARN versus 2024 program. So that's it for upcoming dates and deadlines. Very exciting stuff happening all in, I think it's only 2 weeks. So just please stay tuned to the WhatsApp group. Keep engaging there, keep assisting one another. Thank you so much for all of you. You make our work so much easier when you support one another. I often see many of you going off on private to assist one another, seeing people helping each other with assignments. That is the community, the community spirit entrepreneurs are definitely meant to have, and I think this group is really at the top of that. So thank you, and over to you again, Rebecca.